Part 11, navigation. This time, we're going to talk about TEM, threat and error management. Okay, threat and error management. So, first of all, to be able to manage threats to us, we firstly must recognize the threat. Oh, whoa, all right. Let's go a little bit back. What's the difference between a threat and an error? Well, a threat is something that is out there. Well, quite frankly, it's everything outside the cockpit. The buildings, the masts, the weather, other aircraft, you name it. Everything out there can be a threat. I don't want us to go and just fly because we're threatened by everything. But if you come close enough to certain things, they can become a serious threat. What's an error? Well, an error is a mistake that we make. Other people can make mistakes as well, and I know ATC don't always want to say it's possible, but they can always and maybe also make mistakes. But before we can recognize a threat, we need to educate what constitutes a threat. What constitutes a threat? Anything that can cause harm or damage to us and our aircraft. It's easy as that. All right. So once the threat is recognized through knowledge and skills, management can save the day in order to the great extent, the expected cause and the consequence. And an orderly way, we must be able to recognize. All men are prone to error, and as we know, to get into trouble is easy, but to get out of trouble needs more than luck. So I don't want to get to the luck part. I want to say that we're going to not overcome the adversity by luck, but by skill. But to have the skill is fine, but to have the knowledge is combined with the skill even better. Because the decisions that we have to make when we facing the adverse or the adversities, that is what it's all about. All right, so threat and error management. Now, we've gone through the uncertain of permission. You cannot pinpoint yourself exactly and there's a few things that you can go through. Now, there's a couple of tips here. Maybe you can't, find your note. Check along. How long have we been flying? I've been flying for 3 minutes since passing that hill, so I could see the railroad on the right and the track on the map. You look inside to the right and check for the railroad. Yes, I am starting to use a little bit of logic. If I'm here, then there, and maybe that. It's a threat if we get uncertain of position, because the threat is that maybe we're not going to get to where we want to go or proper place to land. So, yeah, first action of something must be double check. Do FRIDAs. And align the DI and compass. Ooh, that's a first thing. Align the compass and DI. I've now said it. This is the third time in this series that I'm actually speaking positively about that. Most importantly, maintain the same planned heading. Avoid creating heading in a direction that looks promising. Maintain heading and wait for the planned checkpoint according to the time. This we've seen so many times. Ooh, maybe I must go there. Ooh, maybe I must go there. Ooh, just now you've oohed so all over the place we don't know where the hell we are and where we're going. Maintain. Why is it that we get lost? It's because we're artificially drifting. Or we are drifting and we're not picking it up. We're not steering to a point. So maintaining your heading to try and maintain your track is of utter importance. And if you then get unsure or uncertain of position, hold it. It's been working for the past so many minutes now. Why would everything just go pear-shaped within the next minute? Quickly check DI and compass. No, it's still right. So, right. Let's wait a little bit. Give it a little bit of chance. Okay? Don't panic prematurely. Lost procedure. Again, First action, config DI aligned. Second action, calculate time, last known point and draw a circle, possible distance could have flown from that point. Hey, you should at least have known where you were when. So you can't sit and sleep on the aircraft from the word set go. But remember, to get lost happens like that. But dynamics doesn't really work like that. If you know where you are, know where you are, and now you're lost, something was going wrong in the heading, or all of a sudden there's a wind that nobody can foresee, or something. But normally, I can tell you, is when you started playing with your heading and you didn't stay on the damn thing. Okay, third action, look outside, large obvious stuff. Try and spot something. What do you see outside that is big, that is recognizable and an ant? Because maybe I can say to other people, hey, I can see this big mine dump and it's got this shape or this, and oh yeah, they know it's that one. So other people can help. So confess. Hey, I'm lost. So what? No, they're not going to take your license away. And they're not going to put you on YouTube. It's not funny enough, okay? So if you have found your position, it is important to access the reason that you got lost. DI, wander, drift, whatever, okay? If you do not spot any features, climb higher, get a view, talk to ATC, and let you go for it. All right, so now I'm going to just talk about, and I don't want to stand too much here, but there is just a highlight of the threats. Now look here, there's a threat, there's a consequence, and mitigate. Mitigate means, what is it that I can do to get my situation better? The thing with safety, if I can recognize the possible threats, and before there is a consequence, I can ensure that I've got mitigation in place, I never have to go to the consequence. So let's have a look at one or two of these. Handover of control. I remember this one. No one has control handover procedures. I've got, you've got, and not I got, you got, who's got, everybody has got. Somebody must have proper procedures. Other aircraft, you could have a collision, so we look out. Blind spot, we look out, and we look for the stuff. Remember that the cockpit, in the beams that's on the side, there's a blind spot behind them. And I find that people think they can't move their neck more than 90 degrees. They say, hey man, look behind you. You can. Even at my age, I can look behind myself. So, you know, I'm glad you're not trying to become a fighter pilot, because then you must be able to turn your neck through 360 degrees to see. Well, not really, but anyway. Aircraft above, below, again, same story. Loss of bearings. Reference points. Everything goes about reference points. Where am I going? Can I see that? Hey, this is VFR flying. It's not IFR flying. It's not I'm sitting inside and I'm just looking in here. Because these things might be wrong and they must be drifted. Outside is where we're flying. If it's IFR, then we cannot see. Or let's say the idea is, for instrument flight rules, that you cannot see outside. So you're inside a cloud. Now VFR is not inside a cloud. To be visual with your instruments inside the cockpit is not VFR. VFR means you can see outside. Okay. Unfamiliar surroundings. There must be orientations. Use of a flap at high speeds. Okay. There's a lot of things that can go wrong. Concentration inside the aircraft, collision. So you can't just sit heads in. Heads out a little bit. Engine heating system, lack of theoretical knowledge, medical fitness to fly solo. But whoa, medical fitness, so you must stick to the rules. If you are not healthy enough, stay on the ground. You're not going to impress anybody. You're going to just hurt yourself. And you're going to hurt your eardrums. There's a lot of things that can go wrong. You don't want to be on your own. It's just one of those things. Insufficient runway, unstable approach, establish a stable approach, and thing. The point is here that for everything that we can see as a possible threat, here on this side, here on this side, there is a mitigating factor. The consequence is the part that we want to avoid. All right? So now we can already look at this, and here's still a lot more. What have I got here? Let's just highlight them. Loss of bearings, breach of low-flying engine failure, low-flying aircraft, confined airspace due to weather, poor landing area, errors in measurement and calculation. What was that? Set heading procedures. Features misidentification, other aircraft, terrain clearance, other circuit traffic, unfamiliar slopes, sizes, shapes, surfaces, all that kind of stuff. Again, these are all threats. How do you sort out the threats? Well, threat mitigation normally revolves around procedures. Checks. Your checks is part of your procedures. Okay. Yeah. Go and write down the threats, but I don't want you, no, I can see that mast. So I'm planning to fly a little more to the right. I can see there's a threat that is if I fly over there, I can probably end up in jail, but it's because it's over a zoo or whatever. Okay? So be knowledgeable and think of the possible consequences. All right, then there's a little bit of a checklist here for navigation flight. Okay, now I'll run through that, but it's not like I'm going to teach you anything map preparation. And you'll say to me, yeah, but I'm doing it electronically. Aha! Study the map. Hello? Study the map. We don't say study the manual map or the electronic map. Study the map. So it holds true. There must be a navigation log. If there's no log, there is no expectation. A log says, what do you expect, what do you get? Because this is a written replication of what we expected and what we actually get. Oh yes, and by the way, you're getting away with it in private flights, but okay. Flight plans is like a thing that we would like you to do. Aerodrome charts. And I went through that. Whew, I see so many people fall flat on this one. Don't forget this one. Weather flight. TAFs, METAR, significant weather. We went through that. Mass and balance. Radio frequencies in use. Special rules. And then your FAD, FRFPs. In other words, your danger areas. And, okay, restricted areas. Everything. No TAMs, AIPs, ASLs, pre-flight, including the aircraft documents. Including the aircraft documents. Hey. Remember, if you land at another place, the police or the CAA can walk up to you and say, please produce. And if you cannot produce, they can ground the aircraft right there and then. No, not what I didn't make that rule. That's a rule. Okay? And you better get in alignment with the rules, because that's flying. If you don't get in alignment with the rules, you're going to get in trouble. Okay, I nearly said what I needed to say. All right, so here we've got a checklist carrying on. If landing away from base, that one. If landing away from base, what now? Now, there's no rule in the book that you say must take 2 bottles of oil, but I can tell you, if you've got the oil and the fallen and the cloth, if you've got those 2, 3 things, they go together. Hello? Yeah, but no. You make it easy for yourself. Think a little bit. There's a couple of things. Chocks. Now for the aircraft, and sun visors for the aircraft. That's to look after your aircraft. Okay, if you on any airport and you haven't got the chocks on your aircraft, They're going to make you buy chocks there, okay? And if you haven't got a jacket, your apron jacket, that's just the one that comes up here, they're going to sell you an apron jacket. And if they cannot sell you any of these two things, they're going to chase you away because you're not allowed. So don't forget your license, even if it's a student pilot license. Fuel card. Always carry some cash for small purchases. Credit card with some funds available make good sense. Fully charged cell phone. Pre-flight the day before, but remember still pre-flight before the actual flight. Now I still, if I know I'm going to fly tomorrow, I do the pre-flight the day before. But what am I doing on that pre-flight? I make sure the fuel is right and oil is right. Does it mean if I get to it tomorrow, the aircraft, and it's been standing on its own on the flight line or in a hangar, that I'm again going to look at the stuff. All right, but I don't want now to find out there's not enough oil because I had yesterday time to do that. Unless you've got time beforehand to check up all these things. Fine. All right? So just, well, do everything. That and your pilot license. Okay. That's just a little checklist. Oil for your aircraft, but also the equipment to put the oil in to keep stuff clean. You obviously need all your aircraft information with you, but you also need your pilot information with you. Oh, you need a jacket and you need chocks. What else is there? Money. Money. Yeah, but I only ever got a card. So how are you going to buy a bottle of water at a slot machine with your card? Unless it's at Sun City maybe. I don't know. All right. In a gambling house, I don't think on a normal airport. All right. Conclusion. The compensation for most threats and possible errors is seated in planning and training. A threat will always be there. The weather, the mountains, the wires, and whatever's in your place, those threats will always be there. If you're aware of the threat, you know what to do to mitigate the threat, then the consequence is very unlikely. If you've got enough fuel, you've got a damn fine chance you're not going to run out of fuel. If you've got spare oil on board, you're not going to need to stand and wait for somebody to bring you oil from a remote place. If you've got water with you, you can survive for a little bit. And. Logic. Threat management takes careful thought and planning to identify and mitigate such possible threats and errors. It's not an happy-go-lucky thing. It's not, well, we'll see what happens. You can't afford to see what happens. You need to create what's happening. Through planning, you can literally create your future or give yourself a better chance to future. Does this make everything right? No, of course not. But it gives you a hell of a good chance. Okay. So that's the part. And what I wanted you now to go out there is to think that threat and error management is something that is premeditated. Because if you think about it beforehand, you're not as surprised. And you have already thought of the mitigation. If you're already aware of something that could be a threat and you're already in your planning mitigated for it, well, you've taken that one out of. So what can you say on my tick box is going to threaten me, and what can I take out of my way? Until the next and the last.